J-Dubb here. So, that doesn't look anything like me. Oh, my face is too round or something. Anyways, I've held out for a while, but I've decided now to do my Draw My Life video. So, I've learned a lot about, a lot of personal things about other YouTubers, so now it's my turn, so you get to learn some stuff about me. That does not look like my nose. It's all bulbous and hobbit looking. That's not what my nose looks like. Ah, hell with it. Here's my Draw My Life video. So, for the first 8 years of my life, I lived in Southern California. One day, I found my older sister in the den playing around with a tape recorder. She was recording her own show that she was calling The Late Late Show, and she was doing her own, she was making up her own interviews and commercials and things like that, so I ended up joining in, and basically I enjoyed doing it, and I continued to do The Late Late Show after she became a teenager and pretty much lost interest. Sometimes I'd have my friends participate, and I'd tell them what to say. I always figured I'd eventually end up doing The Late Late Show in front of a video camera. I remember one night when I was a kid, I had a dream that I went on this school field trip, and we basically went to this kind of indoor, it was like an indoor snow park, and this snow park had several different rooms, and they each had their own capacity, and so we're all standing in this line waiting to go into this one snow room, and there's this person like counting us to make sure that we all, fit, we don't go over the capacity of the room. And I turned out to be at the end of the line. And so she's counting, gets to me, and then kind of does a cutting motion, separating me from the group. Basically, I was one too many people for that room, and so I had to go to a different room from everybody else. It kind of symbolized this fear that I always had. I kind of had this fear of being left out of the group. So when I was 8, my family moved up to Oregon, and that summer I made friends with all the neighborhood kids, and I became BFFs with a kid named Adam. Well, actually, we didn't really like each other at first, but eventually we became BFFs. Going into my teen years, I always had this idea that I'd be kind of the cool kid of the school. I'd pretty much, I figured I'd be like Zach Morris or Parker Lewis, 2 references that kind of date me. Turned out the other kids didn't really share my vision. Going into middle school, I got picked on a lot, and in my anger to feel better about myself, I ended up picking on other kids, including a kid named John. Going into high school, I found that Adam became friends with John, and so I ended up hanging out with Adam and John and a guy named Kenny. Eventually, I forgot that I used to pick on John and became friends with him, but actually he took a little longer to forget. Going through high school, all I wanted was a social group to hang out with after school and a girlfriend. And in my junior year, I finally had this social group developing. So I was starting to be social like I wanted to, and there was a girl I had a crush on, and I was hoping to date, and then my mom got remarried and we moved. So fortunately, I was able to commute to the same school. She actually worked in the city. She was still working in the city where I went to school, and I was able to commute there. Problem was, because it was a long drive, I couldn't hang out with anybody after school, so it was pretty much go to school and then go home. I remember one night around this time, I had a dream that I had to go on a submarine for about 7 years, and I was all sad and lonely feeling because I had to be stuck underwater on this submarine and missing what everybody else was doing for 7 years. I remember the time period right after I graduated feeling kind of depressing and lonely. Basically, I was used to going to school and being surrounded by a lot of people and having my social group, and then I graduated and suddenly I was, I lived in this little town away from all my friends. I wasn't, going to this large group of people every day. Couple things that I always kind of wanted to do. I either wanted to direct movies or join the military. So I ended up joining the Air Force. And then I went off to my first base in Japan. At first I was kind of sad about having to leave everybody and go off, across the ocean. But then I remembered, I'm going to Japan! I'm gonna go see Japan! And I got really excited, and I met up with my friend Jay from tech school and made a group of friends over there. A lot of people, when they think about the military, they think it's all uniforms and marching everywhere all the time. But it was actually a lot like college. I went to work during the day, and that was when I wore my uniform. But then, I would just hang out with everybody when I wasn't working, and on the weekends go to parties and clubs. And, ended up climbing Mount Fuji. And there were girls there who thought I was cute. It was everything I ever wanted. That was one of the best times of my life. I also got a video camera and would record home videos, and I would try to do, more artistic type things than just your basic home video. Another thing to note about this time is that I had two nicknames. My friends all called me Germ, but at work, people called me J-Dubb, short for my initials, J-W. But after 2 years, I had to leave and ended up going to the middle of the desert in Arizona. So once again, I felt all lonely and left out of the group. Turned out my sponsor had leave scheduled for the same weekend that he picked me up there, so he basically brought me to the base and then had to go, and so I was there alone with no TV or furniture or phone or anything. So, I ended up walking over to the BX to get a boombox so I could at least listen to music, and turned out there was a Sprint kiosk there, so I ended up getting my first cell phone. But I ended up making a group of friends over there, and we went hiking a lot, including the Grand Canyon. I hiked the Grand Canyon twice, and I continued making Mountain Dew commercials. Eventually, my term in service ended, and I came back home. I got back in touch with John, and we started hanging out again. I got a job working security. It turned out to be nights and weekends. I did this for about 2 years, and once again ended up feeling isolated. Everybody else would be going off to socialize or have fun or whatever, go to parties, and I was stuck in a building. I started using web forums for a social outlet, and I would use the name J-Dubb for my user login. About this time, I also started a blog that I called J-Dubb's Blog, but then eventually changed the name to J-Dubb's Theater. But that wasn't enough. I was wasting my early 20s stuck in a building. I asked my boss if I could, occasionally get holidays off so that I could actually spend my time off with people. And he basically told me to quit whining and talked about how he did the same thing when he was younger. So I quit. I used the GI Bill to focus on school full time, which was financially a bit tricky. I also became introduced to YouTube around this time. I started watching The Wine Cone and Smosh and Barats and Beretta, and it was The Wine Cone's video Internet Creepo that introduced me to a lot of other YouTubers and kind of the idea of the YouTube community. And then I started watching YouTube News and As One gatherings, and got really into the idea of the YouTube community. So I decided to start doing my own YouTube videos and made a YouTube channel based off of my blog, J-Dubb's Theater. I watched videos from the first YouTube gathering, As One, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I really wanted to be a part of something like that. And then there were several other YouTube gatherings after that. There was the 777, the 888, the 789, and then the VidCon gatherings started up, and this YouTube community was calling out to this drive to be a part of something. But being that I was a broke college student for a couple years, and then after I finished school, I was broke and looking for work for a couple years, I just couldn't make it out to one. So I finished school, and my sister threw a graduation party for me, and it was the coolest thing because it was the first time that several friends and family members from kind of the different areas of my life were all brought together in one place. And after that, the feelings of loneliness started to subside, and eventually my friend Adam moved back up to Oregon, and I started hanging out with him and John again, just like old times. And eventually, in the summer of 2012, once again I found myself dreaming of going to VidCon and hanging out with a lot of YouTubers, when I realized, wait a minute, I can do this now. I can actually do this now. So I made the arrangements and finally went to my first VidCon, and I had a blast hanging out with Greg Benson and Peter of Journeys of Life Vlogs, and Caters17 and Corey and Lamar Wilson, and met new people like Sean Klitzner. Got to hear my YouTube hero Philip DeFranco speak on a board. I look at this YouTube community, all these talented people from different places, and when I feel like I'm a part of it, that's when I feel alive. That's when I feel the most inspired. So, bringing us back to the present, I've decided to return to my regular vlogs. See, I've been trying to outdo myself with every single video, each time have something even grander. And that allows me to post a video about once a month. I can't, do that frequently. It's good to do that every once in a while, but I can't do that on a weekly basis. But I can talk to you on a weekly basis. And so, that's what I'm gonna do. So, welcome to the return of the J-Dubb's Theater vlog. With that, J-Dubb out.